Good afternoon and welcome to Santos on Sports alongside my good friend and partner, Mr. Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. We're so happy to have you looking in here today. And we have all kinds of things we're going to talk about today. I got to tell you, I was away on vacation and Chris was away on vacation. And
Yep.
between the two of us, we had a chance to kind of rejuice the batteries a little bit, right?
No, I agree with you there. It's been a tough couple of weeks since the last time we've been on. So, as you said, a lot to talk about, and let's get it started.
All right. First of all, we want to thank Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street, Fall River. Citywide Glass, 425 State Road in Dartmouth. Additional locations in Taunton and Fall River. Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville. And John Seed, attorney at law, 156 8th Street in New Bedford. And, of course, you give us a call. You see the number on the screen. I actually remember to put it there without Chris reminding me. 774-762-6234. Give us a call and vent. So the first question of the day is, are the Celtics potential champions, or are they a bunch of crybabies? I don't know. I watch on the Celtics the last few weeks. The more the season goes on, the more irritating it is watching this team, Chris. You know what I mean? I'm rooting for him. I'll make it. You know, it might seem like I'm not. I'm rooting for him. Oh, they just irritate me. Now your boy there, Mr. Tatum, he goes off and does his all-star thing. Oh, he's the all-star. He's the MVP of the all-star. Oh, baby, he's the MVP of the all-star. I'm going to go hang around with LeBron and all these guys. And he comes back and he sucks. You know, I mean, that's probably a little strong. But
I think that's a little strong.
But he came back. And it's just, you know, they're 3-4 since the break. They're not in first place anymore. They're blowing leads at the end of the game. I mean, even Tatum, he missed a layup, you know, in the clutch. You know, they say I saw someone say that the clutch is defined what you do in the last minute, and his numbers are pretty good in the clutch.
Right.
Well, throw that out. I'm talking about the last 5 seconds of the game, not the last 30 seconds. I'm talking about when you take that last shot, right? So once again, in one of those games, comes down, pounds the ball, boop, 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 12 seconds left, there's 10 seconds left, there's 8 seconds. All of a sudden, 3 seconds left. We're trying to go for this off-balance layup. And the game was tied at the time. So I don't know what was going on there. A couple of really bad shots in a couple of those games. And then, of course, poor Grant Williams, you know, you get in the guy's face and you tell the guy, oh, yeah, I'm going to make 2. How do you like that? I'm going to make 2. And the poor guy blows both of them. And I'm laying there in bed and I'm like, where's my phone? I got to text Chris. This is just terrible. I felt bad for him in a way. But, boy, talk about how many different ways can you blow a game. And I think the Celtics checked a lot of those boxes. And so, I don't know, they're talented. They still may pull it together and make a run for that title. But I'm worried because, you know, talk about the it factor. And I'm not talking about anybody in particular. But the team it factor, that seems to worry me. I don't know. What say you?
No, I like what you're just saying right here at the end. It's the team it factor. And coming off the break, Paul, there's been a lot of guys talking about we're not back in rhythm since that break. What does that mean? I'm not sure, but what they're saying is it's not just one person, it's the entire team that's out of rhythm. And one of the things that they really don't like with the Celtics offense right now is living and dying by the 3 ball. And that's what they've been doing a lot of. And, okay, Williams has been out. Horford's been out sometimes. Tatum's taken a couple of games off. Brown's been out. It's been back and forth, moving in and out. So they've been relying a lot on the 3. From Brogdon, White, Smart, Horford, Tatum, instead of maybe doing the rhythm of moving the ball around a lot better, getting it inside, getting it outside, and doing it that way. We've seen signs of it, but we also see more signs of the 3 ball and out of rhythm. Now, you talked about clutch situations down the end in those 3 games they've lost with the overtimes. I totally agree with you. There was that game there that me and you were talking back and forth, and you can't sit there with 13 seconds and bounce the balls up at the top of the key down to 3 seconds, then give it to one of your stars and expect him to score in that time. That's not going to work. I really don't care who you are, because not many teams are going to have that happen. So there's 2 things I like to see. The Celtics get back to their rhythm of moving the ball around, passing, working inside, filling the lanes, doing the dirty work underneath, losing it on rebounds, losing it on offense, losing it on free throws, the things are just not doing what needs to be done, as the Celtics have on in the first half and most of the season that has gone on. But for them, I want to see a healthy team as well. Now, I don't know when some of these guys go out. Is it because we're playing a lot of games? We need some rest. I'm not really sure, but when Williams is not in that lineup, I get really worried because there's always a lot of big guys, and the Knicks really exploited it the other night. And Robinson and a few more of those guys had some big games. Randall was another one on the inside, and without him in the game, they need some help. So they need him back, and they need to get back to playing Celtic basketball.
Well, we're trying to get back into the swing of things a little bit, but off a few weeks, so give us a shout at 774-762-6234. Let us know what you think. A couple of bad looks there. That game that I think Tatum got thrown out of the game with a technical foul.
Yep.
I don't know what he said. He said he didn't really say anything that great. I think he said something to the official like, hey, this is the best game of the year that you've done so far. But all that moaning and groaning to the officials, I can't stand it. And Marcus Smart, another one. I mean, defensive player of the year, but he was having a hard time stopping some people in those last couple of games. And then on top of that, he still tries to flop and get the call. He just throws himself to the to the floor trying to get that call. And I understand gamesmanship is part of the game, but that whole thing's getting old. You know what I mean? Like I just, and again, it's not everybody on the team, but when things aren't going good, it's easy to blame the official or start griping to the official, but it just feels like they do that a little bit too much. And when you're watching the game, it's sort of like, all right, enough, stop complaining to the official. You know what I mean? And I'm rooting for you, but in the long run, those calls are going to balance out.
True it is, but I'm seeing that a lot more from today's NBA. And it's not just the Boston Celtics. It's a lot of other teams that when things are not going well, there's a lot of whining and complaining and flopping and everything else, from the Lakers to the Sixers to a lot of teams out there. So I agree the Celtics do it at spurts. And right now, when you're 3-4 since the break, they're having that opportunity where it's not going their way. And they're complaining and whining as well. So that's where coaching staff has to kind of step in and say, fellas, let's get back to our ball. If we do it right, we don't have to worry about the refs. But right now, it's not working that way. And so, Smart and a couple other guys are not seeing it. Arms get raised up, and then they start chirping. And then when obviously it's bad, you can be ejected from the game, as Tatum was. But the one that discourages me, Paul, is the blown leads. You can't have 21-point leads, 15, 16-point leads in your home place and get back to losing those games. That's where I start to get a little worried about the Boston Celtics, because I don't want to see that come playoff time. Doesn't matter who they're playing. You cannot give up leads. And this is a game of runs. I understand that. And teams are going to have runs. But you got to limit the damage when other teams go on runs. And when you have a 21-point lead and you're getting outscored 28-7 to start a quarter, that's not good basketball. I don't care how you look at it. And the team ties the game, and now it's a whole new ball game. And that's been happening to the Celtics.
All right, we got a comment here from Charlie Perry. Charlie Perry says Shaq would have made one of those two foul shots. So that's a good one. So give us a call, Charlie, 774-762-6234. He also says, I agree with you, the last thing that you said, Charlie Perry. And Charlie also says that no one is telling them, let's go or sit down on the bench. So quite a few thoughts there from Charlie. So give us a call, 774-762-6234. And speaking of callers, Ryan is in Rochester.
Hey.
How's it going, Ryan?
What's up, Ryan?
Going. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
Man?
It might sound like I'm a little grumpy as usual, but I'll get over it.
Hey, I know how you feel. It's just the skid. It's once again, it seems to be a skid with this team. It's looking like the opposite of what it was last year. Last year we had that really slow start, but then after the All-Star break, we kind of had, the defense really picked up. We went on this hot streak and carried that all the way to the final before we lost. Now it seems like the exact opposite. The tenacity seems to be gone. There doesn't seem to be as much fight in this team. It feels like, tougher teams like like a New York with the guys like Julius Randle. And, the Cavaliers, Donovan Mitchell is one of the better players in the league, but with what JB Bickerstaff is doing over there right now, they seem to be a tough coach team. I'm just not liking it at all. And I said it from the beginning. I like Mazzulla when it comes to, X's and O's and stuff like that, but, it seems that he just doesn't teach defense as much as, like, let's say, Udoka did. Like, there's just the tenacity of this team and the fight in this team is just gone. And you see it with all these blown leads.
The intensity has not been since the break the way the Celtics have been. Jaylen Brown has called it out. He has said it himself. We are losing games that we should not because we're not playing how to win these games. It's almost like, hey, it's the Celtics. Whoa, they're on top of the East. We're just going to slide by and we'll be okay. And these teams don't have to worry because the Celtics are in town or we're going to Boston. They got to find that intensity and get it back. And I totally agree with you, Ryan. It starts with the defense first because that's when the Celtics play good ball. They start with a D, they turn it over, then they move the ball in the fast break, then they pass better, and then they don't have to worry about sometimes that half-court offense and isolation ball and all that. So when they can get going and it starts with the defense, they should be well. Now, I know Udoka was big on that last year, but I thought Mazzulla was coming over from where he came from, and I believe San Antonio, as a defensive guy to really say, hey, I'm going to help you and help this team. So I thought his main thing was defense, and if he could be able to create offense with Tatum and Brown, and I thought he's done a pretty good job with that, but the defenses slide away. They need to get that back, and I think Robert Williams is a big, big part of that when he's in the game.
Absolutely, yeah, which is why, one of the bigger worries that I had was, like, what's the depth behind him? Like, yes. Sure, Mike Muscala was a nice pickup on, the offensive side, but he's not like one of these, like, big defensive stoppers, like say, I'm not necessarily sure that Jakob Poeltl would have been that guy, but obviously, it took a first round pick for, Toronto to go get him, so we were out at the beginning. And, I was on, like, kind of like what you had said. I was kind of hoping that Mazzulla would be, like a cross between Brad Stevens and Udoka, because I want to say he might have been on the Brad Stevens staff as like one of the lower assistants or something of that nature. But no, that same intensity just has not carried over.
Yeah, too, that Udoka, not Udoka, but Mazzulla. At first, I kind of liked him, and I'm not going to pass any judgment, but his interaction with the media, I think these coaches and these people have to understand that when the media asks a question, they're talking to the fans. The media asks the question so that you can give an answer to give to the fans. There's sort of like a conduit to the fans. So this guy is being like a wise guy. Like, hey, Belichick, we kind of put up with him because he's been there. He's won a bunch of times. But this guy, who's this guy to be giving wise answers to the media? I don't know, Chris. I know that's a minor thing. It has probably not a lot to do with what's going on in the court, but there's another thing that rubs me the wrong way.
well, I can see that the Celtics are really rubbing you wrong right now, Paul. But remember, we're not dropping from first place down to eighth place right now. Mm-hmm. It's from first to second. And, Milwaukee's a good team. Philly's a good team. Cleveland's showing some spunk. So there's a lot of things that are going on right now in the Eastern Conference. And it's not like they've fallen off the face of the earth. They got a 6-game road trip coming up, Ryan. They play Portland at home. And then they go on the road with Houston and Minnesota and Utah and back with Portland out there in Sacramento. So there are a couple of tough games, but I think it's 6 games that are winnable. Can be 6-0, 5-1. And I expect them to hopefully right the ship and get it back going again. So that would be nice. And maybe get some West Coast bonding, get some rhythm back, and get some intensity. Because it just doesn't look like there's enough intensity on the defense. I want to see more of that.
So do I. Yeah, and I'd say I'm looking at the schedule right now because you just brought it up. I'd say that the main tough game within the next 3 or 4 is Portland because when Dame Lillard gets high, he's hard to stop. So I won't be surprised at all if we lost this one. But teams like Atlanta, like I don't know if Quinn Snyder has started coaching the team yet. Apparently he is. I can't remember off the top of my head. The Rockets should be fairly easy. The Timberwolves are tougher, but I still feel like they're too young of a team to really put. We should beat those guys, but with the skid that's been happening, I just don't know. We got to get that intensity back, though, just like you said.
Yeah, and what really bugs me, Paul and Ryan, is I don't mind the superstars scoring what they score because that's why they're great. But when it's guys either off the bench or guys you don't really hear of, and they're scoring 28 against the Celtics, I'm a little worried. And I saw that the other night with the Knicks. Their guard, who their main guard was out, this guy comes in and he went off. And I'm sitting there going, why is this guy playing that way? Now, I know it happens every now and then, but when guys who overachieve against the Celtics and have a phenomenal night, I start to worry about, whoa, where's this tenacious defense that really controls the rest of the team, even though the superstar gets some of those? So that worries me some.
All right, so again, it's it's kind of a strange situation with this team. Kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde team, and I think it's too early to hit the panic button and stuff. But there's just a lot of things that happen. And how about that game, Chris? Which was the game that the Celtics had this big lead. So then the other team was coming back, and Tatum had like 39 points. And they tried to lob the ball to him so he could get his 40th point, and the ball got picked off. They went in to score. Next thing you know, the game was hanging in the balance. And I sent you a text, and I said, "Look at this! They're trying to get him the 40th point. Who gives about the 40th point? Everybody gets 40 points now. You know what I mean? That's you know what I mean. You remember that? I mean, those kind of things are like, what are you doing? If anything, Tatum should be rested in that situation, not trying to get his 40th point.
No, I can agree with you there. I mean, I didn't really see that particular play when it had happened. So I'd take a closer look at it to see what developed from that. But, again, it's not about patent stats. It's about winning ball games and winning right. Listen, I don't care if Tatum doesn't average 33 a game. If he gives me 21, 15, and 10, I'll be ecstatic with that. And he's done that at sometimes.
Yes, he has.
And they've won games and they've lost games, and that's fine. And I know he was top 5 in average at 33 or 34 with some of those big guys. But if he can give me wins, that's all that I want. I want wins and still get it done with the rest of the team.
Now, let's talk Bruins real quick before we let Ryan go. Everything is just going so perfect. It's almost like the opposite of the Celtics, right? Everything is going so perfect, and everything's great. And we got the best goalie in the league, and we signed Pasta. And we got goal scorers, and we're 2 lines deep, and we're 3 lines deep, and we got tougher on defense. And, again, the Vezina Trophy winner and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, all right, I should be happy. And I am happy. I'm happy. But there's one problem. You're talking about hockey, which is different than any other sport. Once you get into the playoffs, you're talking about, does it hit the post or does it go in? Does it hit a stick or not go in? Does it get redirected in front? All that kind of stuff. So there's that. And then, when I was a young kid, this is way before Ryan's time, one of the first series I ever watched as a Bruins fan was the 1971 Bruins. 1971 Bruins are the year after Bobby Orr went through the air, okay? Mm-hmm. The Bruins broke over 30 scoring records. They had the top 5. If you looked at the scoring chart, it was like this: Esposito, Hodge, Cashman, Orr. They had the top 5 scorers in the league. And they went in and got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah.
And that stayed with me. And it happened to one of the Gretzky teams. It happened to Tampa Bay a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I pointed that out. And my kids are like, no, don't be negative. Don't be negative. And then part 2 is look at the path that they have to go through to get to the Stanley Cup this year. You may have to go through, hey, you're Pittsburgh. I don't necessarily want to, face them in a 7-game series. Buffalo, I think they can handle. But, even the first round game, then in the second round, you might end up with Tampa Bay, right? You're still going to get through Colorado possibly out of the West. Mm-hmm. So there are some tough teams you're going to get through. By the time you get to the finals, you might be like the walking wounded. So anyway, look, I'm happy. I'm not going to say I'm not happy. I'm happy. The Bruins are going great. But geez, doesn't it feel like it's just too perfect that, like, if they go in and they get knocked off by a good team like Tampa Bay, it doesn't mean they choked. You know what I mean? It's a Stanley Cup playoffs. It's a 7-game series. Hockey's different than the other sports. You could go in there and lose a 7-game series at Tampa Bay. It doesn't mean you choked. So I don't know what you guys think about all that.
Ryan, go ahead. You go first.
Okay. So I don't know if either of you guys saw what Chris Gasper put in the Globe, but I thought he put it perfectly. If this team doesn't bring a Stanley Cup home, it might be the hockey equivalent of the 2007 Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Because look at what Don Sweeney has done this year. Like we've kind of become the Los Angeles Rams of the NHL. Just screw all these first round picks, put all the chips towards the table. Get Dmitry Orlov, get Hampus Lindholm this past year, get Garnett Hathaway, just trade all these first round picks, get all these pieces. You get, at the very least, you got to get to the cup. And sure, I'm to say I'm cautiously optimistic doesn't even do it justice, because you talked about the 71 Bruins. I'm still shook by the 2019 Bruins that blew it in that Game 7. So, I'm still keeping that in mind and staying cautiously optimistic. I would love for them to bring home a cup, but I'm not going to sit around and guarantee anything. I got to see it to believe it. But I'm loving the way the team is going right now, and I hope it's sustainable,
Well, they're putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, and they went with, like Paul said, some heavy D. They went with grit. They went with toughness. They went for watching Hall and Foligno get injured to pick up some guys that maybe can pick up the slack there to help out. Yeah, have they given up draft picks? Absolutely. But again, the Boston Bruins always live by their farm system. They always have. They called down to Providence. They still got some young kids down there. It's not to say that they can't make moves later on in off seasons or following years and try to rebuild again. They can do some different things. But are the chips all in? Well, just remember, when everybody hated Cam Neely and everybody hated Don Sweeney at the beginning of the year and said, what are we doing? Now, all of a sudden, they're a bunch of heroes and everybody loves them. So it's amazing how the fans can easily turn on you, but then all of a sudden pick up and back again when things go great. So, yes, I agree that if they don't win this whole thing, they're going to be people saying, well, look at this, and this. This has still been a tremendous and wonderful season for this organization and what they've done and accomplished for something that came out and said, new head coach, young guys. We got old veterans that may retire, bringing guys back that haven't played in a couple of years. A lot of things going on with Neely and Sweeney. And all of a sudden, bang, this is what's happened. So, 1, good for them. 2, Ryan and Paul, playoff hockey is different than an 80-game season. It's as simple as that. That's what makes this really tough, because you play 3 lines, sometimes 4 lines, switch goalies here and there. This is now 5-game series, 7-game series, whatever it is, 2 at home, 2 at away, 2 lines only playing, let's say 4D only playing. This becomes a rugged series throughout, and playoff hockey is so much different than regular season. Lanes get shut down. Hockey, goaltending becomes so much more important. You get red hot guys back and forth. Anything can happen. So I wish them the best. I think they've had a tremendous season. If they break records, that's awesome. If they can carry it through, and that's the way their positive attitude has been. I give Marchand and a couple of those guys a lot of credit when they talk and they tell you straight out, hey, listen, we're here for the long run. We're here for the overall championship. It's not just about winning the division and those records. It's about the Stanley Cup. Wish them the best. Hopefully it works out.
Charlie Perry typed in a few moments ago, agree. And I'm looking at the timeline. I think it was around the time I was talking, but I can't be sure. But then he also says, Santos, you're not as funny as your father. Well, my father was hilarious, but he didn't have to write a monologue once a week. So that's a whole nother story. But anyway, what I was going to say was, you're absolutely right about Sweeney. Remember when they got rid of Cassidy and they brought in Montgomery? Oh, I thought Neely and Sweeney, they wanted to run him out of town. They're the ones that should be fired. It wasn't Cassidy's fault, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out Bergeron didn't like him too much, I don't think. And Bergeron isn't the kind of guy to to air the dirty laundry, but you can tell by the actions of him and Krejci and some of those guys, they were like, hey, this, hey, again, there was an argument that was, well, Cassidy is too tough on these young players, and these poor young players, they're the millennials, and you can't yell at them, and you can't do this, and hey, Chris has been a coach. I only coached for a little while, but Chris has been a coach a long time. What works for that guy, right? One guy, you can yell at him and kick him in the butt, right? Yeah. Another guy, you go too hard, he crumbles, right? Yeah. So every personality is different. Sure. So your job is to get the most out of these players. Now, it looks like a lot of these younger players, they've blossomed under the new coach. So whether he rode him too hard or he didn't get, your job, look at what Frank Kona did in 2004. Now, he had a great team, right? But still, he had to manage Manny being Manny, and he had to do this and do that and keep everybody on the same page, right? A lot of stuff behind the scenes. Schilling didn't like Pedro too much and back and forth. Okay, so he had to kind of manage the personalities and all that. So maybe there was something to that. Cassidy was just like grinding these guys and killing their confidence and burying them, and it didn't work. But the point is I just wanted to confirm what Chris said. They wanted to run Sweeney and Neely out of town. Oh my God! Sweeney should be fired on the spot, and Neely should run out of town. And now it's like I'm not like Chris says crickets. Crickets. Even Danny Ainge. We're talking about the Celtics, like Danny Ainge. Look, Danny Ainge must be sitting out there going, "Look at this! Look at all the draft picks over here. These guys win the championship. These are all my picks."
Yep.
So right. 1 minute you want to run the guy out of town, and the next minute you're turning things around. What are your thoughts on all that, Ryan?
I mean, when it was at least when it comes to the mid-season moves and picking up veteran players, and and the whole coaching thing, like I got to eat my words on that one. I was 100% wrong on that. Like I still hope that Cassidy does well in Vegas because I still don't really like how it ended. But it's hard to argue with the results. Montgomery has been absolutely fantastic. It's really hard to argue with these results. I'm totally shocked, and I still hope we can bring this home, but. I'm still not a big fan of Sweeney when it comes to his drafting, but who knows how it goes there. But again, got to give the organization a bunch of credit. Clearly, they made a good move here.
All right, Ryan. Well, thank you very much for your comments and contribution to the show. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, let's go to Butch. You're on Santos on Sports.
Hey.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How's it going?
I forgot to say the town. Is this Butch from Acushnet?
No.
It is Butch from Acushnet.
Nah, this ain't Butch from Acushnet. This is Butch from Folly Beach, South Carolina right now.
Oh.
That's correct. I'm looking out over the back porch here into the good old Atlantic Ocean, and it's about 70 degrees and beautiful.
We got a good look at the Atlantic Ocean, too, but it's kind of choppy.
It is kind of choppy, and it's a little bit colder where you're at.
Yeah. Well, welcome in. I'm glad you're listening to us down there on the shores of the southern part of our country.
Hey, Butch, what do you want to talk first, Celtics or Bruins?
I'm sorry?
What do you want to talk first, Bruins or Celtics?
So, I'm a Bruins guy, and it was a very interesting offseason when they changed coaches, and there was a lot of speculation or anxiety over whether that was a good move or not, and who was running the team, the players or management. I got to tell you, I am pleasantly surprised with how they've reacted to, or without Cassidy, or how they've reacted to the new coach. I think it's rather amazing, and I will also go on to say, with one more comment, that a lot of the people, they're tough on, Boston media is tough on their sports teams. And a lot of people are already saying, wow, won't it be a bust if they don't win the Stanley Cup? And it's bust or nothing. But I will tell you this. If they do not win the Stanley Cup, it will not be because management didn't do what they needed to do.
That's correct.
It could fall on coaching and it could fall on the players, but it's not going to fall on management, let me tell you.
I absolutely agree with you there because they wanted them to make moves to get what they needed to go the long run in this playoff. And when they saw Hall and Foligno banged up and they said, gee, how long are they going to be out for? We got to make something happen. And they went out and did it, and they showed up a little bit, obviously, on the defensive side as well. But I think the biggest overall surprise of this entire year has been the play of Olmark and Swayman. As simple as that. And remember, Paul, we talked last year about Swayman back and forth with Rask, who's going to play what and how can it work out? Can they coincide? All this stuff going on. But the play of their goaltending, whether it's been better defense to see better shots, maybe to stop a little bit better angles, I'm not sure what it is, but their goaltending has been outstanding, and that usually wins championships.
Yes. However, I will say this, and again, I don't want to keep picking the negative or anything like that. Yep. It wasn't that long ago that we went into the playoffs with Allmark, yep. And Allmark gave up one softie after another to the point where he got pulled. Yep.
That's correct.
All right. So I don't know what happened. I don't know why. This is the guy that they thought they were getting from Buffalo. Yep. Why he had an off year like that? Was he hurt? Was there some kind of a problem? But hey, look, they always say the hot goalie in the playoffs, not the hot goalie in the regular season, the hot goalie in the playoffs.
Right.
So let's see what he does. I hope he's the same guy in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But who knows? It's hockey is so damn unpredictable.
Yeah, it is.
There's a couple more too. How about Foligno? Foligno was horrible last year. Horrible. He's a different man. I can't even believe it's him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, it may be what Cassidy got out of him he couldn't get, and what Montgomery's gotten out of him has been much better. It could be the coaching on that. It could be the playing time. It could be the people he's playing with and what line he's on. There's a lot of different ways you could dissect that one. We don't know all the ins and outs and the background of it, but he's had a tremendous season, as well as a lot of other players who have really stepped up, from guys they've taken from Providence, from the rookies to the veterans, to get Krejci back. A lot has happened. But I know Paul is real happy with the signing of number 88 for a long time with the Boston Bruins. And I know he's got a big smile on his face because he knows that if it doesn't work out this year, okay, but they can fall back on their leading scorer, their best scorer, and get guys around him. And you need a goal scorer. And they locked one up in Pastrnak.
Hey, for years and years, the Bruins wouldn't get a goal scorer like that. Nope. You had Guerin got 40 goals, they got rid of him. So these guys, hey, I know he has some flaws in his game. He coughs up the puck. He's loosey goosey with the puck and all that. But those guys like that can put the puck in the net, 45, possibly 50
like
goals. Those guys are hard to come by, and if you got one, you better keep them. That's what I say, Butch.
Yeah, I also think that whatever Cassidy and DeBrusque had going on again is another guy this year.
Yeah,
just a different. And I'll be the first to say I was wrong. I thought they should have traded DeBrusque because I thought he would never pan out, especially after last year. And I thought that it would have been better off for the team to get some draft picks for him or get something for him because I really didn't think that he was going to last in Boston. But boy, what a difference a year makes. I was wrong.
Hey, Chris, we've got some really really good callers on the show, right? So Ryan admits he was wrong about something he thought. And now Butch is calling up and he's saying, hey, you know what? I was wrong about that. Like for example, me, like I thought Belichick was going to win more games than Brady. That's a whole nother. We won't go down that one. I was wrong about that one. But anyway, actually, Ryan here, who called before, he said, hey, on a side note, what are your guys' thoughts on the Major League Baseball rule changes so far? I got to tell you, my wife and I, we went to Fort Myers and we caught a Red Sox game, and I got to tell you, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. I know there are purists out there that might say, well, listen, I got to tell you, they had the clock there. The pitcher got the ball. It went 15, 14, 13, 12. Boom. Look at that. Then it got the ball. 15, 14, 13. Boom. I mean, it's like a shot clock. Like you got you got the ball. You got to shoot the ball at some point. You can't just freeze the ball. And the game, it was 2.5 hours. I mean, the thing what I noticed there around the fourth and the fifth inning. When you go to Fenway and it's a 5-hour game and you're sitting there for 2 hours and it's like the bottom of the second, it was like the fourth or fifth inning, just like that. I mean, I thought it was great. I don't know. What do you think about that, Butch?
I agree. I'm 100% behind these new changes. I think that definitely moves the game along. It keeps moving forward. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's exposed a couple of things. One, I think, they used to blame the pitchers for being slow. The hitters need to get in that box and be ready. And I like the way it forces that to happen. I really do. I'm not. I don't understand the size of the bases. It's hard for me to believe that that changing the size of the bases will impact the game. But for the rest of them, I like throwing over to first base. If I think it's going to bring back more of the athletic type player, people who can run, steal bases, play defense. That type of stuff is going to has not been important over the years, and now it's going to come back into play.
The one that I found interesting is, and I watched this the other day with Scherzer. They got a runner on base, and Scherzer is in stretch. So he's got his foot on the mound, and he brings it up, and he holds it, and the batter is not even in the box. He's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And as soon as that guy brings that foot in, Scherzer throws the ball. It was almost like, you're playing a little chess game. So I kind of found that interesting to say, oh boy, you better be ready, and you better be ready early, especially when they're pitching from the stretch. So I saw that with Scherzer a lot when he got in there. And even though he's already like this at 15 and it's counting, but as soon as that left foot came in with the right-handed batter, boom, he was already throwing and letting it go. So I thought that was kind of interesting how that's going to pan out. But the bases wise, I think as Butch is trying to say, they're trying to bring back stolen bases. They're trying to bring back more hit and run, trying to bring back that kind of ball game that people like, instead of just long ball, long ball, long ball,
right.
shifters on, all that kind of stuff. So they're trying to get more quality baseball, I believe, out of what they're trying to do. And again, Paul, you and your wife can go for 2.5 hours, 2:15 instead of 3:15 or 4 hours, and that kind of thing. So let's see how it impacts when the season starts and it's a rivalry like the Yankees, because usually the Yankees are the ones that you go the longest against in some of those division rival teams.
Well, one of the things that I always liked about baseball that was kind of unique to baseball, and every sport has a thing about it that's unique. Well, the thing I always liked about baseball is that when you're in like a World Series game or a playoff game and you get to the bottom of the 9th inning and, the drama of the close-up of the pitcher's face and the close-up of the manager, and then the close-up of the guy getting in the batter's box, and he throws a ball and it's a foul ball, and he steps out again, and there's another close-up, and the sweat's dripping off his brow and all that, that stuff is fan. Now in a spring training game, I'm there, boom, boom, he's throwing the ball, Hey, with guys on base, I think the clock is, I want to say 20 seconds. So in other words, that whole thing that I just described, that's really unique to baseball. I just want to see what that feels like, in the bottom of the 9th inning in a World Series or playoff game, whether or not it's going to feel rushed. You know what I mean? Other than that, though, I like it. But I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that, because that whole thing that you see in these playoff games, the wild card games, the World Series, that whole the close-ups of the faces of all the people, and that part, I like it when it drags out a little bit,
Can you imagine in a playoff game, Butch, where a guy's ready to pitch, and like happened in the Red Sox game, he throws the ball and he didn't throw it on time, and the guy gets awarded, first base or whatever it is, and all of a sudden, and this is the playoffs with all the all the stature and high profile on the line, and you walk someone, or a batter does the same thing and he gets called for a strike and strikes out. It could be real interesting when it gets to that time.
Yeah, I mean that's on the players. They know the rules. By the time we get to the playoffs, they should be used to it. I mean, I don't want that to be a deterrent. I've thought about that, Chris. I've thought about that a lot. Where
I hope not.
Playoffs, they should change. I guess it's part of the follow the rules. Chris, can you imagine you striking out because you're not in box with Chris Santos?
Chris Santos might have an outburst with his competitive spirit. Hey, by the way, gentlemen, did you see what Alex Cora did? Alex Cora took the center fielder, put him in short right, and then took the left fielder and put him like halfway between left and center to get around that rule.
He did do that. He did that
for like a left center.
Yeah, but put the guy in left center exactly. So he put the center fielder in short right, and I'm thinking, oh no, now wait a minute, now they're going to have to come up with some kind of illegal defense or something like that. Because that thwarts the whole idea of that thing. I mean, what are you going to do? Draw squares in the outfield and say you got to stay there? I mean I don't blame Alex Cora for doing it, but I think you got to address something like that when the rule is clearly for this reason, and now you're going to try to get around it.
He did do that for Gallo. He did do that. That's a lot different than moving your infielders, though. Going with 2 outfielders in Major League Baseball, that's much more of a risk.
I guess. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know why. Why don't those left-handed hitters, why don't they try to go the other way? I mean, there's a whole empty field over there.
Ask Chris.
Yeah, but even that, now you have straight center to right center wide open as well. And for a left-hander, I'm sure they can go there because the right field is going to be over more toward the line, even though that center field is way in. So, you got to be a better adjustment at the plate and learn how to make that adjustment and go different ways.
Hey, Butch, before we let you go, are you hitting the panic button on the Celtics?
Well, as you know, I've made this comment several times. I'm really not an NBA guy, but I'm not. No, because I don't think it's time to panic. I think that the NBA is ebbs and flows. There's ups, there's downs. They got a good team as far as the NBA goes. But no, I'm not. I think they're young. I think the coach has done a good job. I'm really not a big NBA guy, but my son follows and Chris follows. So through osmosis, I pick up a lot of the stuff from those 2 guys. But one thing I do want to say on basketball, I want to congratulate the Charleston Cougars for winning their conference championship last night. I'm down here in Charleston, and I watched the game with a couple of alumni. And I just want to say congratulations to their team as well. They're getting ready for the big dance and represent their school in the national tournament.
All right, Butch. Well, thank you very much for the call. We appreciate it, and call again.
All right, good job, fellas.
Thank you very much.
Hey, enjoy the rest of the sun down there, big man.
Butch is usually Butch from Acushnet, but what is Butch from where? From South Carolina, you said?
Yeah, he's just south of Charleston, a place called Follies Beach. It's about 10, 15 minutes south of Charleston, and I've been there with him before, and he's calling from a nice sunny deck with Atlantic Ocean right in his backyard. So he's enjoying himself there for the week. He's on vacation, Paul, as we're back in the grind.
Yeah, well, we're down to the beach in Florida. My wife hates the cold, loves the beach. So I go down to the beach, this and that, right? So I come back, and it looks that when we came back, I don't think we saw the sun for 5 days. It was cloudy every day. So we're driving down the road, and we went by the beach down here, and I said, "Hey, look over here. Look out the window as I'm driving by. See that water right there? That's the same thing." Oh, so we look out at the water, and the waves are like this, and it's the ugliest waves that you've ever seen in your life. These big, choppy, gray waves coming. And he's like, no, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing at all. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this because, I know you're a big sports fan and you hockey, basketball, and so forth. Somebody was saying, in other words, I think if the casual fan was looking at it right now, they would say, oh, the Bruins have a better chance of winning the cup than the Celtics do of winning the NBA championship. I don't care how badly the Celtics are playing. I still think the Celtics have a better chance only because of the nature of the sport. In basketball, because it's 100 points scored and everything else, games aren't decided by fluky 1-goal things. You know what I mean? And so usually the team with the most talent, as long as they can get their heads together, you know what I mean? If they can't get their heads together, that's something else. But usually the teams with the most talent, assuming that there isn't something going on, like when Kyrie Irving was, messing the chemistry up, usually they're going to win. You know what I mean? Now they got to get through Milwaukee and, Golden State's no joke. And there's some teams over there. Okay. But the Bruins, as good as they are, as deep as they are, everything that's happened, the only thing about the NHL, I'm a huge hockey fan. The only thing about the NHL is the best team doesn't win a lot of the times. You can outshoot the opponent 50-20. And, Ryan was talking about that 2019 game. Remember, the Bruins outshot the Blues something like 11-2 in the first part of that period. They found themselves down 2-0. Talk about the air out of your balloon, right? What other sport could that be? What other sport could you outplay your opponent basically in a 3-1 ratio and you're behind 2-0? And how deflating that must have been. And they always say they choked and all that. hey, that's hockey. You know what I mean? You can outshoot the other team 11-2, and you're behind 2-0. That's the thing that worries me about, NHL versus NBA. Totally two different sports.
Yeah, it is. And you look at football, I mean, you can make a drive from the 20 to the 20, get in the red zone and can't score and kick a field goal. The other team gets the ball, throws one pass, it's a touchdown, and next thing you know, you're down 7-3. Then you get the ball again, 20 to the 20, working it down, can't get it in again, kick another field goal at 7-6. They come out 2-3 plays. Next thing you know, he breaks one for 78 yards, and you're down 14-6. So, those things happen. I think the reason behind, Paul, it's because there's so much success of this Bruins season has been unbelievable. The losses at home is incredible. The overall record, the total number of points that they're going to, accumulate to break records. When it's that's why I believe people are choosing the Bruins over the Celtics. Now, I agree with you. I just think playoff hockey is a different atmosphere than regular season hockey. We had Coach John Raleigh on one time, and he talked about it and said what it was being like regular season. Now you're in the playoffs and what that felt like. And I agreed with him in a lot of the comments and the statements that he had, how much different it is and physical it is and grinding it is. And as you said, Paul, you get a hot goalie, he makes 11 stops. All of a sudden, your guy gives up one bad one, and it's quickly 1-0, and now you're trailing, things like that. It's really hard to go through, and not just one series. It's 2, 3 to try to make it to the Stanley Cup and win it. Very difficult. It's going to be tough for the Bruins, but I think they can get. I think they can get there to win it. I'm not sure, but I think they can make a run.
Right, exactly. We got some comments over here. Charlie Perry says the baseball clock is great. He really likes that one. Mm-hmm. He then mentioned Chris McEnroe on the baseball field. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you can explain that one to me. And Decon says, "Hey guys, what's up, Decon?
How you doing, Decon? Yeah, Decon's probably thinking about his Detroit Lions right now, and and who is out there, and Aaron Rodgers is there, and maybe a couple other quarterbacks, and yeah, I would be surprised.
Bailey Zappi beat them, didn't he?
Well, listen, I'd be surprised if Detroit made any move. I think they had a pretty good year on offense, and I like the way they were going. So I thought they would keep that the same. I know Derek Carr was another name. There's a few other names out there, Lamar Jackson, and how come Detroit didn't make a move to get him, and some of these other teams, and so forth and so on. But I think Detroit's improved a lot, and I think they're going to get better. I like their head coach, and I like the direction of the way the team's going. So, Decon, hang in there. The Lions are coming around.
All right, we have a comment here. Did you see that the entirety of the Jets brass went over to meet Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers?
I heard
so
that.
The question is, are they creating a ruse to just stay with the Packers again? Or is that something that could happen, that he could come to the Jets? A lot of people would feel, wow, the AFC East would just be so fascinating. I mean, the Patriots would be like the weakest team in the division, unfortunately, but it would be a fascinating division if Aaron Rodgers came over, that's for sure.
Well, you would have to think, unless Wilson becomes, a one-year blunder and he turns it around. But if not, they have to find a way, because I think the Jets are there defensively, and they need something over the top. And it's that quarterback situation to take their offense to the next level and lead them into the playoffs and maybe win a little bit more than what they've done. So I like their head coach just as much. And I think he's got some talent around there, and they need some. Now, Aaron Rodgers right now, to me, he's a little space cadet. A lot of things are happening with this guy. He's getting a little freaky on me out there. So I don't know what teams are thinking, what they want to do with him, if they want to go for it right now and pay him, or do they want to say, nah, forget about it, and let Green Bay handle his problems.
All right, we got a comment here from Spear from Cape Cod. Spear, thank you very much for looking in today. He's just watching and listening. He called before, so if you want to give us a shout, it's 774-762-6234. We'll put you right on the air. We love hearing the callers. And let's see, somebody from Fall River chimed in over here. They just put in LOL, so I don't know. One of us said something that resulted in the LOL. And then somebody also said old time baseball. Yeah, so we're kind of like, trying to figure out what the pitch clock might do to the baseball compared to old time baseball. But I don't know. So far, it seems like most people seem to like it. I mean, I guess there's some purists, floating around out there that don't like it as much. But on any of these topics, you still have time to get in. 774-762-6234. We're talking Patriots, Bruins, Celtics, and even the Red Sox. We've mixed in a little bit here this afternoon as we're covering all kinds of bases. We talk about hockey, right? Not only do you have the luck and like you look at that 2013, right? I believe that Bergeron was playing with broken ribs by the time they got to the Chicago series. Okay, so that happens. Everybody has injuries. What are you going to do? In 2019, hey, our good friend Pasternak, he went out, had a couple of drinks, fell down, broke his thumb. I mean, he was coming down the ice and the puck kept slipping off his stick. And so those kind of things, it takes 2 months to go through the playoffs to win the Stanley Cup. So many things can happen. Oh my God. Somebody was talking about trading Swayman to get like a defense on it. Like, are you kidding me? The trading Swayman? Are you nuts? Right? All of a sudden, Allmark twists himself or his groin or something. And all of a sudden, one of the best seasons in NHL history goes down the tubes. I don't know. In this particular case, you got to keep the backup goalie there,
Oh, yeah. But the grind and the physicality of playoff hockey compared to regular season hockey, Paul, is apples and oranges. It really is. And so the Bruins have to take care of themselves healthy and stay that way if they make this grind and make this run to get to the Cup.
All right. And Decon is saying, what's up, fellas? Well, we're chatting sports here and having a lot of fun on Santos on Sports. As we said, 774-762-6234. We've had a good time talking to our callers today and covering all the different sports. So let's see. What's next? Oh, I wanted to tell you, right? I laid out some coin. I laid out some coin to see one of the top talents in the league, McDavid. McDavid's coming to town. McDavid's coming to town on Thursday. Edmonton's coming to town,
So y'all going tomorrow night?
I'm going tomorrow night. So I'm watching the Bruins winning all these games and everything's going great and blah, blah, blah. And then my younger son's like, hey, is Connor McDavid this and Connor McDavid that? And of course, my oldest son works up at the Garden. So I'm like, hey, why don't we grab some tickets, go up and see Connor McDavid, So I look at the tickets. I'm like, all right, well, hey, what the heck? I'm on the back nine. I'm going to lay out some coin. So I'm thinking to myself, what have they won, like 10 in a row? They haven't lost a game in the Boston Garden in like 2 months or something, right? I'm like, so here we go. I'll be texting you during that game, Chris. High pressure, right?
Well, listen, you're going to see you're going to see one of the outstanding hockey players in the NHL in Connor McDavid. There's no doubt about it.
In his prime.
Leon Draisaitl, and Draisaitl's right there with him. So it's a 1-2 punch, just as much as when Crosby and Malkin were in their prime, as some as Backstrom and Ovechkin and some of these great players when they're in their prime. You got two guys right now on that team that are really exciting, very fast, great with their hands, and they're tenacious. And I believe McDavid was having a stretch there where it was 2 goals a game. That's how good he was playing. So obviously you hope that doesn't happen. Usually the Bruins contain him pretty good in Boston. Sometimes he gets hot in Edmonton. But, the size of the arenas and things like that kind of balance out for him where he can use his speed, but a very, very talented individual. Those two remind me of a Gretzky and Messier. Between those two, they just need, in my eyes, better defense and goaltending for them to make a run. They're probably going to make the playoffs. Keep an eye on them because they can score goals.
All right, and we got a comment here from Charlie Perry. We were talking about, the umpire telling the batter to get in the batter's box. Mm-hmm. Charlie Perry says that when Chris is in the batter's box getting called for a strike because he didn't get in time, that he would be yelling at the umpire, kind of like John McEnroe did in tennis.
And Butch had mentioned it, and I know he knows from my softball days. I had a couple of moments there where me and the umpires didn't see eye to eye.
Wait a minute.
I'm sure.
you're this very classy, gentlemanly, good role model. Chris Santos was like a John McEnroe. You were like a John McEnroe when you were playing softball. Is that right? I thought John McEnroe was the most annoying player that I ever saw.
Well, I don't think I'd go as far as being John McEnroe, but losing is not in my nature, Paul, and don't really like to lose. So we try to find a way to get really competitive at certain circumstances and situations out there. And if it's not going my way, there's going to be times I'm going to let the officials hear it. And Charlie knows me from coaching, and I'm sure he's heard me a couple of times when coaching some football and some other things, that he would hear some things that I would turn to the official and say, this is not the way it's supposed to be. But we try to do it in a nice manner. But if I'm playing, well, sometimes we get a little more heated than we need to.
Charlie Perry just simply typed in LOL, so we know where he stands on that one. So that's really great. Yep. Hey, you're a competitor. That's what it's supposed to be. And Charlie also commented on Ryan's question about the fact that the Jets brass were meeting with Rodgers and what that all meant. Yeah. And Charlie seems to think, hey, if the Jets had a good quarterback, they'd be a very good team.
Yeah, I think so. And I just said it a little while ago, I like their head coach. I think their defense has stepped up. I just think they need someone to lead them on the offensive side. And they have some weapons there that they can utilize in the running backs and the wide receivers and maybe make a run in the AFC East. Now, would I say they're better than Buffalo? No. But are they compare with Miami? Absolutely. They pair with the Patriots? Absolutely. So they're right around the corner. And if you're going to take off from New York and go right to California and speak with Aaron Rodgers and say, we really want you, it's got to tell you that, this is something that that can turn this team around. So they went out of their way. Now, whether all of a sudden he snaps out of it and says, yeah, I'm going to play for them, or forget about it. I may retire, or no, I'm just going to go back to Green Bay. Who knows what Aaron Rodgers is thinking right now, because his head's all over the place. But there's nothing really more out there for the New York Jets to do unless they make some kind of trade or some other kind of moves. So we'll see how they go. But it's going to be interesting come drafting in April. Looking forward to that one, Paul.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk a little bit about that as we get closer. And, I'm looking at the Patriots, right? And I'm thinking, wow, the AFC East, it just is not getting any easier. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers will go there or not, but can you imagine if he does? I think Aaron Rodgers there. Now you got to get through Aaron Rodgers. You got to get through Buffalo. Obviously, we talked about Allen. There was even a real long shot rumor that Brady still eyeballing Miami. Did you hear that one? I don't think that's going to happen. But Miami, even with Tua there, the Patriots are having trouble beating them. So, I got to tell you, I don't feel that great about the Patriots. That AFC East is no joke.
No, and come April, Paul, you have to worry about your team first. You have to get the things that you need to help your team. And to me, Patriots need help on that offensive line, and they need receiving. I think those are the two big keys. Let's see how Bill does that, and then builds around from there what they need, because they need protection for their quarterbacks, and they need weapons to throw to. And hopefully they'll get that done.
All right. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. First of all, attorney John Seed. He's located at 156 8th Street in New Bedford, and you can check out his website at johnseedlaw.com. We have Lakeville Athletic Club located at 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville, where you can play tennis, pickleball, and more. Citywide Glass, 3 locations to serve you in Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton. And Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River. Thank you very much for sponsoring Santos on Sports. And by the way, when that Belichick came to town, did I hear he may have popped into Scotty's? Did you hear that? We got to check on what our friends over there.
Yeah, I don't have the correct details if this was true, or because that one picture of him wherever he was
started showing up,
circled to different places.
Yeah, it did. Yes.
So I can't verify that yet.
All right, so we'll have to verify that because Chris has some connections over there. So we'll see if that's true or false, and we'll find out for the next time. All right, Chris. Hey, that was a lot of fun. Thanks to Ryan and Butch for their contributions today. We covered a lot of ground, a lot going on, and it's always a lot of fun talking sports.
Oh yeah, Decon, Charlie, all the people, Spiro, who all chatted in with their messages. Thank you for that as well. Always fun and to hear from you guys, and always call in if you need it.
All right. Thank you very much. We hope to talk to you again soon. This is Santos on Sports. For Chris Santos, I'm Paul Santos.